Alright, so we just finished discussing mercantilism and how Great Britain is going to use mercantilist policies to kind of suppress and exploit the colonists, and a little bit just to benefit the mother country of England. This really does kind of set the stage for revolution. It's going to start the kind of deteriorating relationship between the colonies and their mother country. We're now going to talk about the Dominion of New England and what that is. So James the Second, the Duke of York that we discussed earlier, he is going to now succeed his brother Charles and become the new king in 1685. And he is going to crave more control over the colonies than his brother had. So we have the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Plymouth, Connecticut, Rhode Island, eventually New York and New Jersey. He is going to take complete control of these colonies I just listed. So Massachusetts Bay, Plymouth, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Just kind of know the New England area. He's going to take complete control and make it one royal province, which means it's going to be a region that is completely controlled by King James himself. Altogether, this region becomes known as the Dominion of New England. And this is what the characteristics are. These are the characteristics of the Dominion. There is a governor appointed by James, so he gets a hand selection. And we've discussed that previously, that sometimes the king would make it, if he made a royal colony, he would personally appoint the governor. But James takes it a step further because he no longer allows colonial elected assemblies. We discussed that the House of Burgesses in Virginia was a colonial assembly, but in this Dominion of New England, James is not going to allow the colonists to elect leaders to represent them, and instead all matters, all laws and orders are going to be passed and decreed directly from King James himself. So he just takes more and more control kind of away from them. He also enforces that they worship within the Church of England. So the colonists are not going to like this at all because it really does take power away from them, and that's just increasing the tension the colonists kind of have, especially in this New England area. As we're going to see, they're going to be some of the they're going to be the leaders in the revolution initiative eventually. So it's just hurting the relationship between New England and the mother country. Well, then we're going to have another event spark within England itself, and this event is known as the Glorious Revolution of 1688. People in England are not very fond of King James either, and there's going to be a revolution in which he is overpowered, but it's bloodless, meaning there's no violence or war. Rather, he fears his life, so he will be removing himself from office, and he'll run away and formally exiled by the people. So he is no longer king. And his daughter, Mary, is married to William of Orange. So you've probably heard of William and Mary of Orange, and they're going to become the new monarchs of England. And they are very progressive in their ideas as monarchs, because they are going to agree for the first time in England to rule as constitutional monarchs. And what this means is that while Parliament had existed before, Parliament's now going to have even more say-so in the English government over the monarchs. It's going to kind of limit royal power. But they are willing to do this, and the reason they are really willing to limit some of their power and give it to Parliament is because they believe in the ideas that are being passed around in the Enlightenment era. The Age of Enlightenment is occurring at this time, and it's an intellectual movement that's kind of spreading around progressive ideas all throughout Europe. And there's many political ideas that are being passed around at this time, and particularly the ideas of John Locke, who I know we're all familiar with from civics class. And we're going to talk about some of John Locke's ideas right now and how William and Mary really believed in his message. John Locke believes in natural rights. He believes that you, as a person, are born with certain inalienable rights, specifically life, liberty, and property, that cannot be taken away from your government and your monarch. He also believes in social contract theory, which, if you kind of recall that from civics as well, is when we, the people, and our government enter into a contract. We give up certain rights to them. We agree to follow the laws they pass, but in exchange, they protect us, because we know that at the end of the day, government is kind of a necessary evil. We need government to keep order and protect the people and make sure things are run in an appropriate and safe fashion. But if ever the government were to take too much power and become over-controlling or too oppressive to the people, then the people have the right to abolish that government and replace it with a new one. So William and Mary know by agreeing to this constitutional monarchy, they cannot become too oppressive as leaders to their people, otherwise they could potentially be overthrown. With the Glorious Revolution happening in England, the colonies are looking to this action and seeing the new monarchs, and they're going to kind of demand kind of a little bit of freedom as well. They want the dominion that King James established broken up. They want to live as independent, separate colonies with the right to kind of self-govern. And the new monarchs, William and Mary, are going to agree to do this. So they will separate the Dominion back into its colonies. We'll see Massachusetts Bay and Plymouth kind of unify and become one Massachusetts colony. We're going to see New Jersey, New York become their own independent colonies, as well as the others I mentioned earlier in the New England area. So with William and Mary in power, the Dominion will cease to exist and a sense of self-government is restored within the colonies. And that is the end of Chapter 2. Okay, so if you need to re-listen to any of these videos, please do so. Just a reminder, I'm not going to reteach any of this. We'll kind of review it to make sure you understand everything. If you had questions about what we covered, write them down, bring them to class tomorrow, and we'll discuss. Alright? But from here on out, we're going to move on to Chapter 3, and that is what we will eventually quiz on, Chapter 2 and eventually Chapter 3. Alright? Y'all have a good night, and I will see y'all tomorrow.